Did you know it's not called Davos, it's called Davos, at least in German. Anyway, last week at the World Economic Forum, we heard that great speech by Javier Milei, the president of Argentina. And he spoke about the West and about us abandoning the system of free market capitalism and the consequences that that has. And one of his bigger points was about market failures. In his opinion, there is no such thing as market failures. And if you think about it, whenever we talk about market failures, we talk about areas where the government plays a huge role in. Education, healthcare. And clearly the government interferes with market dynamics there. Clearly the government interferes with supply and demand mechanics. And isn't it interesting? The expression government failure doesn't even really exist. Nobody uses it. So when we send millions of people to death because of stupid wars, promoted by governments, then we don't talk about government failure. We talk about bad government, right? It's just this president who made the stupid decision. I find that interesting. All of that said, my point today is actually I want to disagree with Milei on the notion that there is no such thing as market failures. Let's say there is a farmer in Brazil and he has a bit of land and some cattle on that land. And he needs more land. And around him there is rainforest. So he goes to some indigenous people who own that rainforest, who might not even know the concept of ownership. But anyway, let's say they make a deal. They take some money, give him the land, value exchange. All is good, right? I mean, from an economic perspective, it seems to make sense. But if everyone does that in the world and buys that land and burns it down, the very basis of economic activities doesn't work anymore, or is not here anymore, because of greenhouse gas emissions, what have you. So in that situation, the market itself, a pure economic perspective, is not enough. We need a holistic perspective, which doesn't automatically mean that we need government intervention, right? I think there are 3 steps to think about how to solve such a problem. The first step would be the individualistic approach. Individual reason, right? The farmer could always say, well, it makes economic sense for me to have more cattle and to burn down that part of the rainforest, but I don't want to do that for moral reasons or whatever. And that's obviously the Sprezzatura way, is the best way. But let's be honest, it doesn't always work. So we need the second step. And the second step is coercion, but I would call it flexible collectivism, flexible coercion. And this is being introduced by families or local communities. There's always a possibility that a local community where you can be part of or not, so that's why it's flexible, uses coercion to make the farmer do or not do something. And only then, the third step is institutional collectivism and institutional coercion. But still, even when we go to institutional coercion, then there are many grades of how we can do that, right? We can do that with direct democracy, with a very local democracy. We can also do that as a dictatorship, a huge country and dictator who is just saying, yeah, you have to do that with incomplete information and without really listening to the people who are affected. So there are many, many grades. And in any case, we should start with step 1 and first trust that things can be solved individually. When we see that that doesn't work, or we know that that doesn't work because we have seen it in the past, then we go to step 2 and do whatever we can to empower flexible collectivism, empower the family, empower the community to interfere, because they have the most complete information to interfere the right way or to know when not to interfere. And then only then we start using institutional collectivism. And then we go grade by grade. And I hope and I'm sure we're never going to reach the big country dictatorship level. even though in some cases, as you can see out there, this has been reached. In any case, thank you, Javier Milei, for coming to Davos. And it was a great speech. Clearly shows the Sprezzatura way to Argentina. And yeah, Libertad, carajo, vamos Argentina.